Good evening, children. Lesson 7, The Girl Who Was Anne Frank, page number 17 of your English textbook, part 2. Okay. Now I'll start reading the lesson first and then I will explain the lesson to you. And how do you know that the human race is worth saving? An argumentative young student once asked his professor. Said the professor, I have read Anne Frank's diary. How this diary of a teenage girl came to be written and saved is a story as dramatic as the diary itself. No one foresaw the tremendous impact that the small book would have, not even her father, who had it published after Anne's death in a Nazi concentration camp. The diary of Anne Frank has now been published in 19 languages, including German, and has nearly sold 2 million copies. Made into a play by Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, it won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, and in the 1956-1957 season alone, played in 20 different countries to 2 million people. In London, it ran for nearly 6 months at the Phoenix Theatre. 20th Century Fox turned it into a film. To understand this amazing response, it is necessary first to understand the girl who was Anne Frank. When Hitler came to power, Otto Frank was a banker living in Germany. He had married in 1925. In 1926, his first daughter Margot was born, and 3 years later, his second, Anneliese Mary. She was usually called Anne, sometimes Tender One. In the autumn of 1933, when Hitler was issuing one anti-Jewish decree after another, Otto Frank decided to emigrate to the hospitable Netherlands. He started a small firm in Amsterdam. Shortly before the outbreak of war, he took in a partner, Mr. Van Daan, a fellow refugee. Mostly they traded in spices. Business was often slow. Once Otto Frank was forced to ask his small staff to accept, let's move to the next page now, a temporary cut in their modest wages. No one left. They all liked his warm personality. They admired his courage and the evident care he took to give his 2 girls a good education. I think you would have understood everything till now. It's not something very difficult or very complicated. It's all quite easy and simple. As a pupil, Anne was not particularly brilliant. Most people believed with her parents that Margot, her elder sister, was more promising. Anne was chiefly remarkable for the early interest she took in other people. She was emotional and strong-willed, a real problem child, her father once told me. A great talker and fond of nice clothes. Life in town, where she was usually surrounded by a chattering crowd of girlfriends, suited her exactly. This was a lucky fact because the Frank family could only rarely afford a holiday, nor did they own a car. When the Nazis invaded the Netherlands in May 1940, the Franks were trapped. Earlier than most Jews in Amsterdam, Otto Frank realized that the time might come when he and his family would have to go into hiding. He decided to hide in his own business office, which faced one of Amsterdam's tree-lined canals. A few derelict rooms on the upper floors, called the Annex, were secretly prepared to house both the Frank and the Van Daan families. Early in June 1942, Margot Frank was called for deportation, but she did not go. Straightway, the Franks moved into their hiding place, and the Van Daans followed shortly afterwards. 4 months later, they took into their camp lodgings another Jew, a scientist. There were 800 people. Any sound, any light might betray their presence. A tenuous link with the outside was provided by the radio and by four courageous members of Otto Frank's staff, two of them typists, who in secret brought food, magazines, books. The only other company they had was a cat. While in hiding, Anne decided to continue a diary which her parents had given her on her 13th birthday. She described life in the annex with all its inevitable tensions and quarrels. But she created first and foremost a wonderfully delicate record of adolescence. Now we move to the next page. Sketching with complete honesty a young girl's thoughts and feelings, her longing and loneliness. I feel like a songbird whose wings have been brutally torn out and who is flying in utter darkness against the bars of its own cage. She wrote when she had been isolated from the outside world for nearly 16 months. 2 months later, she had filled every page of the diary, a small book bound in a tartan cloth, and one of the typists, Miep, gave her an ordinary exercise book. Later, she used Margot's chemistry exercise book. Her diary reveals the trust she puts in a wise father. Her grief because, as she feels it, her mother does not understand her. The ecstasy of a first rapturous kiss exchanged with the Van Dan's 17-year-old son. Finally, the flowering personality, eager to face life with adult courage and mature self insight. On a slip of paper, Anne wrote faked names which she intended to use in case of publication. For the time, the diary was her own secret which she wanted to keep from everyone, especially from the grumpy dentist with whom she had to share her tiny bedroom. Her father allowed her to put her diaries in his briefcase. He never read them until after her death. On August 4th, 1944, one German and four Dutch Nazi policemen suddenly stormed upstairs. How the secret of the annex had been revealed is not known. "Where are your money and jewels?" they shouted. Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Van Daan had some gold and jewelry. It was quickly discovered. Looking around for something to carry it in, one of the policemen noticed Otto Frank's briefcase. He emptied it on the floor, barely giving a glance at the notebooks. Then the people of the annex were arrested. In the beginning of September, while the Allied armies were rapidly approaching the Netherlands, the Franks and Van Daans and the dentist were carried in cattle trucks to Auschwitz, the Nazi death camp in southern Poland. There, the Nazis separated Otto Frank from his wife and daughters without giving them time to say farewell. Mrs. Frank, Anne, and Margot were marched into the women's part of the camp, where Mrs. Frank died from exhaustion. The Van Daans and the dentist too gave their lives. Now, next page. Anne proved to be a courageous leader of her small Auschwitz group. When there was nothing to eat, she dared to go to the kitchen to ask for food. She constantly told Margot never to give in. Once she passed hundreds of Hungarian Jewish children who were standing naked in freezing rain, waiting to be led to the gas chambers. Unable to grasp the horrors inflicted on them in the world of adults. "Oh, look their eyes," she whispered. Later in the autumn, She and her sister were transported to another camp, Belsen, between Berlin and Hamburg. A close friend saw her there, cold and hungry, her head shaved, and her skeleton like form draped in the coarse, shapeless, striped garb of the concentration camp. She was pitifully weak, her body racked by typhoid fever. She died early in March 1945, a few days after Margot. Both were buried in a mass grave. In Auschwitz, Otto Frank had managed somehow to stay alive. He was forced early in 1945 by the Russians, and in the summer he arrived back in liberated Amsterdam. A friend had told him that his wife had died, but he kept on hoping that Anne and Margot would return. After 6 weeks of waiting, he met someone who had to tell him that both had perished. It was only then that Miep, his former typist, handed him Anne's diaries. Mission in life. A week after the Frank family had been arrested, Miep had boldly returned to the annex. A heap of papers lay on the floor. Miep recognized Anne's handwriting and decided to keep the diary but not to read it. Had she read it, she would have found detailed information on the help she and other people had given the Frank family at the risk of their own lives, and she might well have decided to destroy the diary for reasons of safety. It took Otto Frank many weeks to finish reading what his dead child had written. He broke down after every few pages. As his old mother was still alive, she had emigrated to Switzerland where other near relatives lived. He started copying the manuscript for her. Some passages which he felt to be too intimate or which might have hurt other people's feelings were left out by him. The idea of publishing the diary did not enter his mind. He gave one typed copy to a close friend who lent it to a professor of modern history. Next page. Much to Otto Frank's surprise, the professor devoted an article to it in a Dutch newspaper. His friends now urged Otto Frank to have Anne's diary published, as she herself had wished in one passage she had written. I want to publish a book entitled The Annex After the War. My diary can serve this purpose. When Anne's father finally consented to publication, the manuscript was refused by two well-known Dutch publishers. A third decided to accept it, and he sold more than 150,000 copies of the Dutch edition. Other editions followed. 250,000 sold in Britain, a like number in Japan, 435,000 in the United States. Otto Frank began to receive hundreds of letters. One from Italy was addressed Otto Frank, father of Anne Frank, Amsterdam. A few people doubted the authenticity of the diary. Most wrote to express their admiration, and grief. Girls of Anne's age poured out their troubles. Oh, Mr. Frank, wrote one girl, she's so much like me that sometimes I do not know where myself begins and Anne Frank ends. Numerous people sent small presents. Some exquisite dolls were made for him by Japanese girls. A Dutch sculptress presented him with a statue of Anne. On the birthdays of Anne and Margot, flowers arrived anonymously. The meaning of the word anonymous is, children, something which doesn't have a name. Tomorrow you might receive a letter from someone who has not written their name. You don't know who has written that letter, but you will receive that letter. That letter can be called as an anonymous letter. So many letters poured in that Otto Frank was forced to retire from business. The care of his daughter's diary had become his passion, his mission in life. All royalties were devoted to humanitarian causes which he felt would have been approved by Anne. All letters were answered by him personally. Every day, new ones sadly reminded him of the losses he had suffered, but he felt that there was truth and consolation in what the headmistress of one of England's largest schools wrote to him. It must be a source of deep joy to you in all your sorrow to know that Anne's brief life is in the deepest sense only just the beginning. The most remarkable response came from Germany. When the book's first printing of 4,500 copies came out in Germany in 1950, many booksellers were afraid to put it in their windows. Mass appeal. When the play opened in 7 German cities simultaneously, now let's move to the next page. No one knew how the audience would react. The dreams progressed through its 8 brief scenes. No Nazis were seen on the stage, but their ominous presence made itself felt every minute. Finally, at the end, Nazi jackboots were heard storming upstairs to raid the hiding place. At the close of the epilogue, only Anne's father was on the stage, a lonely old man. Quietly, he told how he received news that his wife and daughters had died. Picking up Anne's slim diary, he turned back the pages to find a certain passage, and as he found it, her young, confident voice was heard saying, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." Packed audiences received Anne Frank's tragedy in a silence heavy with remorse. Remorse means repentance. Okay, am I clear? Or you can even say shame or guilt. In Dusseldorf, people did not even go out during the interval. They sat in their seats as if afraid of the lights outside, ashamed to face each other, someone reported. The Dusseldorf producer Kuno Eppel explained, Anne Frank has succeeded because it enables the audience to come to grips with history personally and without denunciation. We watch it as an indictment in the most humble, pitiful terms of inhumanity to follow men. No one accuses us as Germans, we accuse ourselves. For years, Germany's post war administrators toiled to make people feel the senseless and criminal nature of the Nazi regime. On the whole, they failed. The diary of Anne Frank succeeded. Leading actors received dozens of letters. I was a good Nazi, a typical letter said, but I never knew what it meant until the other night. German school children sent Otto Frank letters signed by entire classes, telling him that Anne's diary had opened their eyes to the viciousness of racial persecution. In West Berlin, an Anne Frank home was opened devoted to social work for young people. The people of Berlin had chosen her name to symbolize the spirit of racial and social tolerance. Elsewhere in Germany, an organization was set up named after her to combat remaining vestiges of anti Semitism. In Vienna, money was collected for Anne Frank forest to be planted in Israel. In March 1957, a Hamburg student suggested that flowers should be laid on the mass graves in Bergen-Belsen, where, next page, Anne Frank had found her last resting place. More than 2,000 young people eagerly answered his appeal. Hundreds pedaled on bikes 120 kilometers in lashing rain. Standing in front of one of the mass graves, a 17-year-old schoolgirl expressed what all felt. Anne Frank was younger than what we are when her life was so horribly ended. She had to die because others had decided to destroy her race. Never again among our people must such a diseased and inhuman hatred arise. Anne's brief life is indeed only a beginning. She carries the message of courage and tolerance all over the world. She lives even after death. So that ends this chapter, children. As you might have grasped already, this chapter is about a young girl whose name is Anne Frank. When Hitler took over Germany, he was against the local people. When he came to power, Hitler was against local people and he was against Jews actually. Not Jews, Jews means not Juice, Jews, a Christian sub-community. So, many atrocities were committed on these Jewish people. And one of them was Otto Frank, who was Anne Frank's father. So he decided to emigrate to Netherlands, what is called as Holland today, which was better suited for living. There he started a small firm which traded in spices. He took with him a partner whose name is Van Dan. He was also a fellow refugee. Business was not going on very well. Sometimes he used to tell his people, his staff members, to accept a cut in their salary. He used to tell them that he will pay them less salary. But all of them liked him because he took excellent care of both his daughters. Now, Anne Frank was not exactly a brilliant girl, a brilliant child, but she was very much emotional and very strong. And she used to like chatting with people a lot. And she was fond of nice clothes. She always, a group of girls used to be with her, chatting. So when the Nazis invaded Netherlands, even in Netherlands, the Franks were not allowed to live peacefully. They were caught by the Nazis. Otto Frank realized that he had to go to hiding. So he decided to hide in his own business office, where some people helped him. So what they used to do was, they used to get food, magazines, books, etc. Some good people. And the only link with the outside world was a radio. So when all this was happening, when Anne Frank and her family were in hiding, she decided to write about her experiences. So this was her diary. Her parents had gifted her a diary on her 13th birthday. So she made use of the diary to write all her experiences, what she underwent in this camp, in this particular refugee camp. She was very much upset, she was depressed because she was away from the outside world for nearly 16 months. So when we see her diary, when we read her diary, we come to know the agony which a young girl like Anne Frank undergoes when such atrocities are inflicted on her and her family. She was too young to undergo all those things, but she was forced to undergo all those things. Then she put the diary in a small suitcase which her father had given her. Then one fine day in August 1944, German and Dutch policemen, they found out this family, Otto Frank and his family. How they found out is something which is not known. So Mrs. Frank, that is Anne Frank's mother, and Mrs. Van Dan, they had some gold and jewelry. These people, they wanted to take that gold and jewelry with them. So they emptied Otto Frank's briefcase. Whatever was there in the briefcase, they put everything on the floor and they put the gold and jewelry in the briefcase and they went off. Of course, Anne Frank, her father, her mother, her sister, and the Van Dams, they were all captured and taken in cattle trucks to a Nazi death camp in southern Poland. Here what happened was, Anne Frank's father, that is Otto Frank, was separated from his wife and daughters. Mrs. Frank, Anne, and Margot, they were sent to the women's part of the camp. So here, Anne Frank's mother, she died, and the Van Dams also, they could not bear the torture, even they died. But Anne Frank, though a very young girl, she proved to be a courageous leader. She proved to be very brave. She dared to go to the kitchen and ask for food. Once she came across hundreds of Hungarian Jewish children who were standing naked in freezing rain, waiting to be led to the gas chambers. Anne was horrified to see this torture on those young children. Then Anne and her sister, they were taken to another camp, Belsen, in a place called Belsen. Someone who saw her there describes her that she looked cold and hungry, her head was shaved, and her skeleton-like form draped in the shapeless garb of the camp. She was pitifully weak, and she was suffering from typhoid fever. Very unfortunately, Anne Frank died in March 1945. A few days before that, her sister Margot also died. Both were buried in a mass grave. Now, there is a twist to the whole story. Anne Frank's father, Otto Frank, he had somehow managed to stay alive. So he got the news that his wife is dead, but he thought Anne and Margot, they would be alive and they would return. But after many days, he got the information that both his daughters had died. Then he went to the place where they had gone into hiding. There, one typist whose name is Miep had kept the papers which were written by Anne Frank, the diary. She gave those papers to Anne Frank's father. It took him many weeks to finish reading what his daughter had written. Then he lent the whole thing to a close friend who gave it to a history professor. This history professor wrote an article in a Dutch newspaper. And actually, Anne Frank's last wish was that her diary should be published in form of a book, which happened now. Two publishers, they refused to publish this book. A third one decided to accept it, and more than 150,000 copies were sold immediately. Then other editions followed in Britain, Japan, and United States of America and Italy. In all these places, thousands of copies, lakhs of copies rather, were sold. Otto Frank started receiving many letters from people, from young girls of Anne Frank's age. They were upset and disturbed that Anne Frank underwent so much of torture at a young age, and they expressed their feelings. So he became so busy with answering these letters that he had to close his business. The care of his daughter's diary had become his only passion in life. He used to answer every letter personally. Then finally, Anne Frank's diary was made into a play, into a drama. The audiences reacted beautifully. And finally, everywhere, wherever the drama was staged, packed audiences flocked to see the drama. It was also made into a film. People were so, Germans, they were so ashamed of themselves that they did not want to go out even during the intervals. So finally, the people who were acting in this drama, they received dozens of letters. German school children, they used to write letters to Otto Frank, signed by the entire class, telling him that Anne Frank's diary had opened their eyes to the viciousness of racial persecution. An Anne Frank home was opened in West Berlin, that is in Germany. An organization was set up named